Hi guys, welcome back to Canadian Beer Journal. We're going to be continuing our run on Russian Imperial Stouts with this Russian Gun Imperial Stout from Grand River Brewing out of Cambridge, Ontario. Something to look forward to. Mill Street has announced another spring mix pack with two beers that you can't regularly get outside the brew house. It's their Spring Thaw, which is a smoked maple sort of deal, and Portage Ale, which is a cream ale, which I don't think I've ever had that one, so see if I can pick that up once it hits the shelves and at least review those two beers. So Grand River Brewing, they're out of Cambridge, as I mentioned before. They're an interesting brewery. Their focus is on full flavored ales below 5%, which is, I think, a neat focus to have. A lot of breweries focus on these huge monster beers that sort of knock you on your ass. It's nice to have a brewery that's actually focused on beers you could, I don't know, drink and then actually do stuff afterwards. They focus on older English styles, which already tend to be lower alcohol. Like they have a mild, which is like a 3.2% beer. They have various sort of pub ales, and they do a lot of different seasonals. They do a pumpkin ale. I think for spring it was an April Bock. This is ostensibly their winter seasonal, but it's available fairly regularly. The story goes that the town was gifted a cannon following the Crimean War, and it unfortunately exploded when it was actually fired in town, killing the two men who operated it. So this beer is sort of a commemoration to a local tragedy. It's a standout in their lineup, I guess. It's 8.5%, and the reason I chose it to go into this series is because it's actually flavored. As you can see, it actually says right there on the label, flavored strong beer. Which they've done, I think, for the last two iterations of. It has, in addition to the standard barley, sugar, or rather barley, hops, yeast, and water, they also have sugar, molasses, and spices. They don't say which spices, but I'm guessing it's probably made nutmeg and cinnamon. We'll see if we can pull it out when we drink it. More and more breweries are starting to flavor Russian Imperial Stouts because they are so big and inherently complex. They do well picking up other flavors. So you'll see chocolate additives or coffee. So we'll see in this case how those spices work with sort of the overall aesthetic of the beer. It's a bit stronger than the last one, 8.5%. Not quite as big as some of the more modern ones, but definitely you're seeing a step forward from the original like 7%. Alright, so let's get the lid off, see what it looks like, smells and tastes like. Alrighty. So, compared to the last one, this one's a little bit more active. You can see the bubbles in there. Got a bit of a thicker head. But again, it's totally opaque, as you'd expect. Nice thick head on there. Let's give it a smell. Alrighty, so this one, it's a little bit more alcohol forward. You're definitely getting a bit of a booze nip in the nose. But again, I'm picking up chocolate, maybe a little bit of coffee in the nose. A little bit of the hops already, actually. This one's definitely more bittered than the last one was. I'm not really picking up, at least in the nose anyways, any spices or anything that's sort of different from sort of bone stock Imperial Stout. We'll see if it is on the taste. Cheers. So on the palate, I'm getting actually a lot of hop bitterness up front. There's definitely a bit of dark malt in there, like a little bit of coffee, maybe a bit of chocolate. But at this point, I have to say I'm not picking up a lot of the different spices that they're talking about here. And interestingly enough, it's not very sweet. I would figure having both sugar and molasses in it, it would be at least a little bit sugary, but maybe they just added it in to bring the alcohol level up a little bit. Anyhow, what I'm going to do is let this sit. May warm up for about 10 minutes, see what other flavors come out, and give you a final verdict then. Alright. Hey guys, welcome back. So I've been letting this warm up in the glass now for the last 15, 20 minutes, and there are more flavors coming out. There's sort of a biscuitiness to the malt, maybe a bit of dried fruit coming out. And there's some sort of spiciness in the background. I really can't tell what it is though. It might be clove, maybe nutmeg or something. But overall, what's a little bit disappointing about this beer is that it's fairly one-sided. Like, the main thing in it is just the bitterness. It's got a hop bitterness, and it's got a malt bitterness, and some of the complexities that I think could be there just aren't. What it might be an issue of is just that the beer is fairly young. This was bottled on November 21st, 2013. Thumbs up, by the way, for putting the date on your beer. So it might just need more time in the bottle to kind of settle down a little bit, let some of the flavors really come out. Thing is, at present, I don't really see the point of having the molasses, the sugar, and the spices, just because you really can't tell that they're there. Like, if someone were to just tell me this was a standard Imperial Stout, I wouldn't really have anything else to say about it. Like, I wouldn't immediately say, oh, no, this thing has spices in it or something like that. So,
just say it. It's a boring beer.
I don't know if it's boring. It's definitely tasty. And the flavors are definitely there. But I think I'd give it about an 8, just because everything about it's tasty. It's good. It's just, it's a little bit disappointing because a beer of this strength with added ingredients, I think, should be a little bit more complex, have a little bit more to say. And I find it just a bit off balance. It's a bit too bitter. But as I say, might be worth looking into picking a bottle up and just letting it age out a year and see if it's a little bit different then. But for now, I'm going to give it an 8. It's a really good beer. It's just not quite excellent at this point. So anyhow, I would still advise picking it up. It's only $5 for a half-liter bottle. Definitely worth your time. And I may pick up 2, let one age out a year, and see what you think then. Alrighty. Thank you for joining me again. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.